Compliment of the season, guys. This is what we're going to be learning today. A straight skirt with front slit and band on the waist with full lining. Welcome back to my channel. To all my subscribers, you're welcome, and if it's your first time here, you're welcome. These are the fabrics we'll be working with. I have a lining about 1 yard and the Ankara print about 2 yards with my scissors, stapler and other things I'll be using. And I already have the Ankara fabric placed on the table, folded in two. I also have it doubled both for back and the front parts. So I'm checking out for the length. The length I'm going to be using is 28, but I'm going to make it 30. And I also checked for the wideness of the fabric. I used the circumference of my hip measurements divided by 4 to check if the one I have on the table folded is enough. And then here is the zipper I'm going to be using for the back part. So now we'll proceed to mark out the starting point. You can see the length I already have folded is almost accurate to 30%, 30 inches, but I'm going to be marking out that place as the starting point. Then from the side, I came in about 1 inch and I just connected the lines together, and this line is going to stand for my zipper and also for the slit. Remember, I'm cutting the both front and back together. Then from the starting point, I came down to 10 inches, which is going to be my H, the hip line. I labeled this H, and the waistline W. Then I'm going to be dividing the circumference of my waistline by 4, and I will mark it on the W I labeled, minusing the one I marked already. So that one is not included in this one I'm marking right now. So on the hip line too, I divided the circumference by 4. I marked it. I added 1.5 allowance. For the knee parts, I just removed 1 inch from what I marked on the hip line. I marked it on the knee line, and I'm connecting these 3 lines together. You can see now what we have. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and just cut out what I have. Basically, this is just for a very straight skirt, short or 3/4 straight skirt. So the length depends on exactly what you want. If you want it more lengthier or if you want it shorter, you can just decide to go with the exact measurement you want. So I removed one part, then the other part, the down one, I opened it up, which is going to be for the back part, and you can see the zipper I'm going to be using there. We'll keep that aside. Then I'll bring back the front part now. And now I'm going to determine the side that is going to be on the left and on the right side. So this is the left side when I put it on. This is the left side, and this is the part I'm going to be removing the slit from. Then for the slit, I'm going to be going deeper 4 inches apart from the 1 inch I marked earlier. So this 1 inch is not included. So if you're including the 1 inch, it's going to be 5 inches. But now removing the 1 inch, I just marked out 4 inches all through the fabric. Then I connected the lines together. And this is basically where my slit is going to be. I just open it up like this, and I'll go ahead and open up and cut it out so you can see perfectly what I have. And this is the part that is going to be for the slit area. Please don't forget to like this video. Please like it. Next thing we are going to be doing is to cut it exactly what we already cut now. We cut it out exactly on the lining part, and here is the lining already folded, lining again in 2, and I'm starting from the back parts, and I placed the Ankara print on it. I just cut out. Then I'm not going to be making the length to be equal with the length of the Ankara fabric. I first open up the center part. Then for the down parts, it's not going to be equal with the length of the Ankara, and I raised it up about just 1 inch. Remember, I added 2 inches allowance. The main length is 28. I made it 30, so I just folded it up 1 inch from the down, and I'm cutting that 1 inch out from the lining part. This is what I'm going to be using to fold up with the lining while sewing it. I'm going to be showing us exactly everything in the sewing part. Just please don't forget to like the video, and if you have any question at this point, leave it in the comment box. I'll be there to direct and answer a question. I did the same thing to the other parts, that is the front part. Remember, for the front part now I have two pieces, the slit part. So I did the same thing. You can see this is the small part of the slit, which is the left side. I also cut out the lining for it, exactly the way I did for the other ones. So at this point, I already finished cutting out the lining for each of the fabric. Then I just decided to change my mind and put a band on the waist. So I'll be removing 2 inches from the waistline. So I just placed all the fabric together, aligning it perfectly, both the lining, the fabric. I placed it on each other and I removed 2 inches, and you can see I just cut it off. But if you are removing the waistband from the starting white cutting, just remove about 2 inches from the main length and use the remaining to cut. So you can see the main length is already shortened by 2 inches. And at this point, I'm going to be sewing it. I place the fabric, the Ankara print on the lining, making the right side face the right side, and I'll go ahead and stitch the down parts first together. So I'm going to stitch the down parts together, and you can see now this is what I have after I was done stitching it together. And I opened it up again and stitch it on the lining to sub-stitch. And after I was done, I folded the fabric back. Okay, you can see the Ankara fabric on the lining parts, about 1 inch I folded up. Remember, when I was cutting it, I made it longer than the lining, and I did the same like that. And then after that, I stitched the side by side together. You can see. Then I put my hand deep in through the waist parts and I turn it inside out. Turning it inside out, I did this same step I did for all the remaining, both front and the back parts. I turned it inside out. At this point, you can see it's a bit rough. I'm going to iron it to make it looking smooth. And then for the zipper parts, we are not going to be fixing the zipper right now, but now I'm going to be closing the other part. So since the slit is at the front, I'm not going to leave any slit at the back. Then I'm going to be stitching from the down parts of the back to where I want the zipper to reach. Remember, I left about just 1 inch for the zipper, so that's the 1 inch I marked, and I just joined together that part. And for the zipper, I'm going to be using like 10 inches for the zipper. So I've gone ahead to stitch the remaining parts together, and this is what I have. The waist is open for the zipper. We're going to keep this aside because now we are not going to put the zipper yet. Then for the front parts, this is what I have. I've gone ahead to join the other part from the waist down to where I want the slit to be. And for the length of the slit, I left about 10 inches. Then I'm not going to be stitching it together to make it stand. I am going to be using the Emi gum you saw me using right now. And at this point now, I just took a pin, I joined it together because I'm going to be taking my full measurement now to stitch it together before I put the waist band. So now for the measurements, I divided the circumference of my waist by 2. I marked it, and then I came down about 10 inches. Remember, you can see now I removed the 2 inches for the band before I came down with 10 inches, and on that point I marked this so that it's going to guide me where to mark my hip measurement. I divided the circumference of the hip by 2 and I marked it on the hip line. Then for the down parts, I measure what I have on the hip line. I removed just 1 inch and I marked it down, and I'm connecting the lines together. You can see this is why I had secured the slit at the front with pin, so that it's going to stand well and I will not make mistake of including it in the main measurement or the mark I'm doing on the fabric. So now after that, I brought the back parts. I'm going to be laying it exactly the way you're seeing like this. That's how I'm going to lay it on the sewing machine, and I'll stitch it together. And yes, this is what we have after I was done doing that. You can see now we only have the waist opened where we are going to be putting the waistband, and I just take the tape rule now to just measure all through what I have. You can see at this point I have not yet put my darts, so I will go ahead and mark out the darts. And for the dart I marked out 4 inches and I take it down about 5 inches. Then on the waist, I'm going to be holding it up exactly the way you're seeing it. I will do the same for the other side of the back, but I'm not going to be putting that on the front because of the slit that is already there. Then I have another piece of the Ankara print on the table, about 5 inches wideness, and the length is equivalent to what I measured on the waist. So now I'm going to be folding it up like this and place it on the waist part and stitch it exactly the way you see me doing now. I'll stitch it together like this. Okay, after doing that, we just go ahead now and fix the zipper. The zipper will go through the band part also. So that's all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.